you don't know who clampers are. Some of you don't know who clampers are or where they come from, so I'm going to introduce Bob WUHS, give you a little enlightenment of clampers. Hi, everybody. That going? First time I've ever had an occasion to be here in the John Ventura Stadium. And a dear friend of mine, here in spirit here today. So what about Clampus Vitus? Well, it was started back on Hanging Fort Creek in what's now part of West Virginia by Squire Ephraim B., a cadaverous sort of a fellow who thought he'd have some fun. And the main purpose of it was to unstuff stuffed shirts and poke fun at politicians. Well, it never spread very far back in the East. And then just before the middle of the last century, a man by the name of Joseph Zumwalt was coming across the plains by ox team to California. And he stopped in a little newspaper office in Bowling Green, Missouri. And there he saw the ritual of the ancient and honorable order of Clampus Vitus, and he picked it up, put it in his belongings, and brought it to California with him. Now, nobody knows just where the first chapter of Clampus Vitus was established here in California, but somewhere up in the gold country, maybe Downeyville, maybe Nevada City, maybe Hangtown, nobody knows. But in any event, it was established here in California back during the gold rush period, shortly after the middle of the last century. It also carried out the tradition that Ephraim B. had established of being primarily a fun-making organization. You know, the people in the gold country, those old miners, were far from home when they're living a dangerous life. Go up through the cemeteries in the gold country and you'll see how young many of them passed away. And whenever could get enough people together to dig in, they would form a chapter of some of the established orders, maybe a Masonic order, the Odd Fellows or whatnot. Well, there is a legend that there were some in the gold country that had dipped so deeply into the pits of human degradation, that were so far beyond the pale of respectability, that they could not gain admission into the older established orders. And they formed the nucleus of the first chapter of Clampus Vitus. Now, we're too proud to deny that. We're too circumspect to admit it. But in any event, it did start in the gold country, and whenever they could get enough tenderfoot together with enough gold dust to have a feed, they'd have an initiation. And it spread like wildfire throughout the gold country. Pretty soon, no merchant could sell his goods. No drummer could peddle his wares. No professional man could practice his profession. No miner could gain acceptability unless he belonged to the ancient and honorable order of Clampus Vitus. Well, there is some evidence that during times of fire and flood and pestilence and whatnot, it did some good work. But primarily, it too was a fun-making organization. Well, when the old miners died off or drifted away, the sound of the hugag was not heard again from almost 3/4 of a century. Now the hugag, and I don't know why we don't hear it, the hugag was a great ram's horn that they blew whenever they were going to have a meeting. We couldn't find a ram's horn, so we got a bull horn here. In any event, it died out as the gold country died out. And then in the 1930s, some journalists in San Francisco and some professors, history professors at the University of California, decided to revive it, this time as an historical order. It didn't do much till after World War II. Then it just spread like wildfire all through California. It carried out the tradition. It had the ritual of the original order, and that is followed today. It's still primarily a fun-making organization that lampoons politicians and brings brings people into it. Every officer is an officer of equal in dignity and all of that sort of stuff. But it does do some serious matters. It rides in historical parades. It publishes a historical magazine out of Stockton. And above all, once each year, each chapter. And there are now 38 chapters, 3 in Nevada, 1 in Utah, 1 in Arizona. And we ride in historic parades, we visit historic sites, and we erect a monument to preserve the history of that place. There are several in Fresno, in Fowler, Selma, Sanger, and different places around. And from today on, there will be one here in Easton. That will be our contribution to your celebration. What say the brethren? And so recorded.
I know.
Next thing I'd like to do is, we got an edification from Randy McFarland. Thank you, Dave. When a chapter dedicates a historical monument, we like to take an occasion to tell you briefly a little of the history behind that monument, and that's my pleasant job for you this morning in these next few minutes. Our edification, Washington Union High School and the Easton community. When Fresno County was young and its amenities were few, one of the finer things in life which was missing was a high school. There were schools, and eventually they'd be all over the place, every couple of miles. But those were grammar schools, usually 8 or 9 grades. There had briefly been a Fresno County private academy of sorts, and it may have offered some secondary education, but probably it was little more than a grammar school. And it gave its name out to the little town of Academy, out by the foothills northeast of Fresno, where Clampus Vitus has another of its monuments. The fact remains that throughout Fresno's infancy, and after the town was founded in 1872 and became the county seat in 1874, those youngsters wishing more than a grammar school education had to go south or north, away from home and away from the valley. That changed in 1889 with the establishment of Fresno High School and the Fresno City School District. It's great for those happening to live in Fresno, but out here in the country, high school remained a distant dream. Countryside around the little city of Fresno began growing up in the 1880s, and this area was one of the first rural districts to be settled. This entire region, from the Kings River to the San Joaquin, had been an empty plain, a land of sparse, seasonal grasses, which was little more than a desert. Water from the Kings River, as it does today, began bringing the land to life. Lands around Fresno began to be colonized, offered as agricultural subdivision, often with water rights. 1878, this district was purchased by 3 San Francisco men, O.W. Easton, J.P. Whitney, and Allen T. Cavell. Easton called the 3,200 acres he sold right around here Washington Colony. He sold hundreds of parcels for farms. Other nearby lands and colonies began to be settled as well. To serve this population, the enterprising property salesman foresaw the need to establish a town. About 100 acres were subdivided into town lots. Mr. Cavell became the new town's first resident late in 1880. When a post office was established in February of 1881, yet in the community were named Cavell. Except for a brief suspension in 1883, the Cavell post office was continued until the 1902 merger with the post office over at Oleander. Mr. Easton, who must have been quite a promoter, worked hard to develop the entire district and eventually took over Mr. Cavell's role as superintendent of Washington Colony. Along the way, the name of Mr. Cavell was detached from the town except on all of its legal documents, and the little community came to be known as we know it today, Easton. Washington Colony, including the Oleander area, continued to thrive during Fresno County's big boom years of the 1880s. Here as in so many parts of the valley, the pioneers were a remarkable breed who invested everything to settle on an untamed land. They did so with determination, establishing the Valley Society. The development of the Easton business and social communities moved right along. It's an interesting story, and one which I have to tell you, I'm impressed, not being a resident of this area, in your new Easton Community History book, which is a job well done. That book will tell you the stories of the 14 elementary school districts which sprang up all around the Easton area to educate the area's young people. Oldest of these was Orange Center, formed in 1876. Not far behind was Washington Colony, formed in 1879. Many of these have long since been consolidated into larger districts. But this brings us back to the need for a high school. Fresno High's establishment in 1889 prompted people in two Fresno County towns, Selma and Easton, to begin talking about establishing high schools of their own. They were aided in 1891 by the passage of the Union High School Act. Fresno High had been a city school from the beginning. Well, that wasn't practical out here. These little country districts on their own couldn't possibly individually support a high school. But by forming a Union High School district, several country school districts could join together under an umbrella district and retain their own home districts. Selma was the first Union High School district formed in Fresno County on February 26, 1892. Here in Easton, that inspired proponents of a high school to move right on ahead, and on April 18, 1892, the necessary petition was filed. Within a few weeks, an election was held and approved. Created was the Washington Union High School District, which originally included Washington Colony, American Colony, and Oleander school districts. The school opened in the fall of 1892, Fresno County's third public high school. Of course, in 1901, Washington Union gained its own campus on part of the existing school grounds. The 1901 school building burned in 1923, and the lovely old two-story structure that was completed the next year was torn down in 1972, making way for the present campus, which was completed in 1975. Well, there have been many, many other changes in the campus, too many to talk about here today. Much growth, much progress over the years, too many, in fact, to mention right now. But the fact is that the record of Washington Union High School is a proud one. Those Fresno County pioneers who established Washington Union High School's district a century ago had a mighty fine idea. And so recorded. Okay, first I'd like to tell you where this monument's going to be put up. It'll be put up on the corner of Elm Avenue and Lincoln at an angle so it can be seen from both sides of the street. Now for the unveiling. Say the brethren. And so recorded. The inscription reads, Washington Union High School District. 100 years ago, voters of the area formed the Washington Union High School District, but initial classes were held in the Easton Town Hall and the Easton Park. Finally, in 1901, the first building was constructed on this site at a cost of $7,500. The building was destroyed by fire in 1923, and a new school was built in 1924 at the cost of $145,000. There were various additions as the population of the area increased, including a nine-classroom unit in 1961. But the entire building was razed in 1972, and a new high school complex was dedicated in 1975. Now on the other side it says, in large letters, Easton. In 1878, O.W. Easton and J.P. Whitney, San Francisco entrepreneurs, bought a total of 12 sections of land in this area. That's 7,680 acres. Formed the Washington Union Irrigated Colony and began selling 20-acre farms. L.N.T. Covell was the superintendent and the resident manager of the colony.
and established the townstead that came to be called Covell. The town was composed of lots, each of which came as a bonus to the purchaser of a 20-acre farm. As the community grew and the postal areas were rearranged, the community was renamed Easton. I thank you. What say the brethren? And so recorded.